What's your favorite love song?
You had to be Somewhere My Love from the movie Dr. Zhivago.
What would your favorite romantic movie be?
Oh, An Affair to Remember. Especially because they meet at the Empire State Building in New York.
Do you have a funny Valentine's Day disaster?
I sure do. I was meeting an opera singer from Italy. Not meeting, dating. And he did not know anything about Valentine's Day, and we were supposed to go to a party in New Jersey. And when they came to pick me up and I didn't see any flowers or he forgot all about it, I just got so mad that I walked away. Oh, I was so spoiled.
On Valentine's Day, would you rather get 100 roses or 100 pieces of chocolate, and why?
To begin with, I suffer of allergies, and I do not care much for fresh flowers. And to me, it's such a waste of money. Something that just you have to throw away. And I love chocolate anyhow. So I would rather have the chocolate.
What is Valentine's Day like at Hefner Mansion?
We have such lovely people in here that you can feel how we like each other so much, and how I like to make people laugh, and I do anything for a laugh. So I usually get all dressed up, and like, for example, I'm thinking of dressing as Carmen Miranda with all the flowers and fruits on my head, just to make people laugh, and they really appreciate that.
What's your Valentine's Day message to send out to everyone?
Everyone in here, in the Hefner Mansions, I feel loved and protected and appreciated, and I like to return that feeling to them, to everyone.
What was your first car?
My first car was a convertible Mustang, but I was already 33 years old. I am from Cuba, and in Cuba I did not drive. And from Cuba I went to New York, and in New York City you do not need to drive. After I got married and had children, then I learned how to drive, and that was my first car.
So do you have any funny stories about a car?
Yes. My husband bought a Seville Cadillac, and that was when they had the computer where you touch button and said, it tells you what was going on with the car. And he did it so many times that he aggravated me, and he goes and says, what number 11 says? And I looked at us, Arlene, he said, it says that it's going to blow up. So he ran into a car, a station to figure out what was wrong with the car. He believed me. Oh.
So were you apprehensive about your children driving since they were going to be so much younger than you were?
Are you kidding me? When especially my youngest one, when she started driving, I would ride with her to the ballet school, And I would be so nervous. And one day we got to the ballet school, and she forgot to use the brake, and we hit the side of the school. And that was the last time I rode with her.
One.
Spending time with my grandpa.
One.
During my junior high years. An airline pilot. With my best friend, Omega Muse, and because me and her were so much alike.
So what are the names of your grandchildren?
Rachel and Drew, and Bailey and Aaron, and Caitlin and J.R., and Zach and Rachel, another Rachel, and Chase and Clark.
What is your favorite part of being a grandparent?
I think watching them grow up and seeing what kind of adults they are.
What advice do you have for your grandchildren?
To love each other and stay close, particularly through the years. Always remember their family.
What would you like your grandchildren to know about your life that perhaps they don't already know?
That when I was their age, I acted like they do, and I thought as they do now. And I loved life, and I loved to dance, and I did all the things that they are doing.
And is there anything else you'd like to say to your grandchildren?
That I love each and every one of them, and they have made my life so much more complete, and I'm so proud of each of them.
To Seminole, Oklahoma, where my uncle had a machine shop. This was during the boom in Seminole. And he went up there and went to work for my uncle. And he disappeared. We never saw him anymore. So.
Don't know what happened to him?
I do now, but
Oh.
I didn't. We didn't for years. But since I became an adult, I have seen him.
Oh.
But never while I was a child.
Oh.
And I don't know where he was or what he was doing, but evidently wasn't good.
Oh. No.
And so I say that I was raised by a committee, because both families, both sides of my father's family and my mother's family, all the aunts and uncles raised me.
Oh.
And they did a very good job. Then I was 17, and I was on my own from then on. Since I was 17, I've been on my own. And what else you want to know?
So you went to business school?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And when and where did you meet your husband?
In Seminole, Oklahoma, at a drive-in. I guess that's what you'd call Herman's, where a hamburger joint, but they had they call it curb service, and all the high school kids hung out there at night and I was there with my cousin and another boy, and people would come by and get in the car and we'd talk, and then they'd go and somebody else. And this person got in the car, and it was Merrell, and it turned out that was my husband in later years. That's where I met him, was in a drive-in.
Wonderful.
I was going to get a job and live there until the war was over, and that lasted 2 or 3 months. And then I got on a train and went to Missoula, Montana.
I bet you missed him, huh?
And I worked at the university there, and I typed a thesis for a professor for 9 cents a page. And then he was sent to Santa Ana, California, and I followed him up and down the coast. I've forgotten how often he was moved, every 8 weeks or something like that. And that lasted about 2 years.
Was he a flight instructor?
He ended up as a flight instructor teaching Chinese cadets in Bakersfield, California.
From Northwest Kansas, I used to live in, and so.
How old
here,
were you when you came to the U.S.?
22 years old. I was a young woman. Now I'm turning to old woman.
You live in
Seoul, Korea, capital city.
Seoul. You were in Seoul.
Seoul,
Through
yeah.
the war too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
War break up.
you were there when they exchanged occupation, the Chinese come in one time and then the Americans one time?
Yes, it was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both Chinese, Japanese, stayed there for 36 years.
Right.
Before then, and my father, older sister, speak Japanese, but I don't know anything about it. Then I come to Korea, U.S., and I hired a tutor, and it was a broken English. So I didn't use any. I start all over. So in Korea.
How did you meet him?
We were just dating of Korea. He was stationed 1965, I think. Yeah, and he one day, he would come with a friend, and I meet him over there. So play card. So
Playing cards?
yeah, playing cards. I meet him over there. This is 23 years ago, 53, age 53. So with cancer. He died at the Hayes Medical Center, Northwest Kansas, and South. Well, I don't know. Anyway, Hayes Kansas Medical Center, he passed away. Oncology room.
How many children did you have?
I have 3 daughters and 1 son.
Did you work outside the home?
Well, I volunteer at the Red Cross, and I cook at school. Then, I was busy. I babysit for school teacher, and I was a busy woman back then.
How many grandchildren do you have?
I got 2 grandchildren, 2 over there, Canada. He's a CPA, and 2 granddaughters. My daughter come from Chicago, Illinois, Joliet, Illinois, and she have 2 daughters. So I got 4 grandchildren, no great grandchildren.
Not yet?
Not yet. I'm just waiting for great grandchildren, but not yet. So my youngest one is Navy. She's medical field, and she's EMT, whatever those run,
Emergency in the vehicle?
Yeah. She ride it there. Sometimes helicopter. She just go out the field and treat the patient and then release whatever.
Oh, a paramedic.
Yeah, paramedic. Yeah. She's that way, and she's my youngest one. She will be 26 this month. 25th.
Tell us about your parents.
My parents? Well, it's a long story. My dad think it, he needs a son to carry name. So we had my mom and dad married, and 5 daughters straight, So he remarried, and I have 2 sons and 1 daughter from him, or her, whatever.
Okay, so he was married and had 5 daughters, and then remarried and had 2 sons and another daughter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that his sons could carry on his name?
Yes. He's a minister.
Oh.
Methodist minister. I find out. He's a Methodist.
What kind of minister?
Methodist.
Methodist?
Yeah, Methodist minister. Then his son be the judge, whatever. Test, he passed the test and he's judge. And, well, I don't.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't see them often, like I should.
Janell S. Dawson. I wasn't named after anyone. I was just named Janell. Oklahoma City.
One.
Partly in an orphanage, partly at my parents' house.
So Janell, tell me, why do you like your name so much?
Because it's short and nice sounding.
And
it affects who I am. My name, I don't know why, but it affects who I am.
That's a wonderful answer. And I know you said earlier you liked it because it's kind of unusual and not a lot of people have it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good reason to like a name.
Yeah.
So what is more important, finding a career that you love or finding a career that pays well?
Well, I found a career that pays well because I had a husband that expected me to stay home and take care of 3 kids. And I never worked in my life except when I tried to get out of work.
So when did you decide to retire from your career of child rearing and housewifing?
Well, it's like this. When I was young, I lived with my parents because I'm an only child. And then I got married at 19. And then I guess I retired when my husband passed away, when I think he was 82 and I was 80 or something like that. And then I was alone for the first time ever in my life. I lived alone. And it's really kind of fun.
So what advice would you give your children about aging?
Well, I don't think you should take life very serious. You just roll with the punches. And you enjoy each day as the Lord gives you.
What would you say you know about living a happy and successful life that you didn't know when you were 20?
I didn't know that my mother would call me on the telephone on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Are you about ready to get up and go to church?
Is there anything you'd like to say to everyone to welcome in the new year?
Well, I hope everyone has a happy new year. And I'm glad that Many of my friends are here to help welcome the new year in. And I'm glad to get acquainted with you and with Linda. And that's about all I've got to say about it.
So Linda, tell me, what is your father's name and where was he born?
R.A. Rogers. He was born near Rogers, Arkansas.
And what do you remember most about your father?
He stayed cool in Bernadette's, and he was a good teacher.
And what valuable life lessons did he teach you?
To treat people the same.
What do you love most about your father?
He was tough, but he was fair.
Did he ever tell you stories about when he was growing up?
Yes.
What kind of stories?
About the time it was raining, like today, and his brother got sucked into the underneath the street and went to the other side. The water took him to the other side. Uncle Chris.
That had to be scary, huh?
I guess.
One, how did he earn a living?
He was in the cavalry, and then he was in the Army, and Air Force, and GoPro.
Do you have a message that you'd like to say to everyone for this new year coming up?
Happy New Year!
Skipped school, and they found out about it, and they said, you girls may not even graduate from high school. So, but I did. I graduated from high school. You'd see this dark brown cloud storm coming up. It was rolling just like that, and you could see it moving. And when it got there, you hung wet, damp sheets over your doors and windows, and but that didn't keep the dirt from coming in. It always could come through somewhere else. So, a lot of people died from dust pneumonia, they called it. A fence post with a fence, that sand was probably that deep, almost covered the fence. Oh my goodness. Well, so I got lonesome and homesick, and I knew I couldn't go back home for a while, so I crawled in there and bawled my head off. I made up my mind that I'm just going to have to wait till when the folks could come and pick me up. Jean and I got married in 42. Small airplanes, and would go pick up grocery, meat and stuff like that, or deliver the mail. Gene, he had generals. He took generals certain places wherever they wanted to go. He met, what's his name? He met Bradley. He met, they made a show about him. MacArthur? No, he's seen MacArthur too.
Patton?
Patton?
Yeah, Patton. He's seen Patton. Where we started in, and I drove a tractor with him. It was those lug tractor. They had lugs on their wheels instead of rubber. And
I think it was Germany. Germans, wasn't it?
What history do you know about your ancestors?
Well, they said they came over in a sailboat, and some days they went back, the next day they went forward. You know, it took them 3 months. That's what I was told. I couldn't prove it. Well, my grandfather was a carpenter. He built houses. And lived on the farm. He did farming too. Farmers and builders, I guess you'd say. Well, they settled there around Huntingburg, and they had some relatives that lived there that got there years ago, you know. That's the story I had heard. I couldn't prove any of it. North of well, no, I shouldn't say north of Huntingburg, between Huntingburg and Holland, maybe south of Huntingburg, I guess.
Is there anything you know about the ladies in your family?
Well, my mother was a piano player, and I learned to play piano. And they were good cooks. Because I'm 90, let's see, what am I? 98, born 21. I'm old.
Is there anything you'd like to say to everybody for spring?
Oh, just keep moving. Don't sit still.
So, what is more important, finding a career you love or finding a career that pays well?
Well, when I was young, it was one that paid well because I was newly married and we were ranching and we needed some money to support the ranch. And so that was important.
When did you decide to retire from your career?
Well, I guess I never really decided to. I retired 5 times, and people quit giving me the retirement parties because I guess they decided I wasn't serious. And I quit actually teaching for a salary about 10 years ago when I went back and taught because a teacher was having problems with her son's health. And so I filled in my home high school, and the principal had once been my student, so it was really good.
What advice would you give your children about aging?
To continue doing what you love to do or like to do, and something that is of benefit to others, and to take care of their health as best as they can.
What would you say you know now about living a happy and successful life that you didn't know when you were 20?
I guess I know now that I needed to plan ahead and to look at the future and what was going to be required of me, both physically and financially, as well as far as relationships were concerned, that I could have done things a lot better if I had known or even thought about those things. But I was like most women my age. We didn't plan ahead, other than for the current year.
Is there anything you'd like to say to everyone to help them ring in the new year?
Communication, which was done a lot in those days. But I grew up in a town that was very interesting because the immigration in the North was really different from immigration here. Because almost all the people I talk to here, I'll say, where are you from? And they'll say, Texas, Arkansas, Georgia, you know. Well, if you came to my town and asked, where are you from? They'd say, my folks came from Slovenia. My folks came from Italy. My folks came from Poland. They came from Ireland. So the population of the town I grew up in was quite different from, what you'd find. So it was common that the Italian people who came here, women, were not educated. So my mother was functionally illiterate, completely illiterate. But my father insisted that we go to school and really go to school, and that we speak English at home. But people would come with their letters from Italy, and he would read the letters to them and then write the letters back, and he wrote beautiful. He had beautiful handwriting. And once in a while, we got an envelope that came in with black around the border, which meant that somebody in the family had died. And they didn't know who it was until he opened the letter and told them. And about that time, he'd tell us kids, get out of here, right there. Because my mother, for example, my mother and her sister and her brother married my father, his brother, and his sister. And it was, my best friends were Polish kids. And, but my father very carefully, there was an Italian part of town, a Polish part of town. The Italians men worked in the coal mine. The Polish men worked in the zinc foundry. The Germans owned the stores. The Irish ran the country, town, and were the teachers. All of my teachers were single Irish women. If they got married, they had to quit teaching, believe it or not. For goodness sake. But they were.
So what was your favorite thing to do as a child, Wilma?
Well, my favorite thing to do as a child is play with my brothers and sisters, because there was so many of us, and we always called it /5, 2 boys and 3 girls, and we'd play. Well, we'd call it squirrel and dog. We had a lot of trees, and then black man too, chased one another back and forth, and then we'd play hide and seek, and we just played a lot of games like that, because things didn't cost money, because we didn't have money to buy things, and even when we want to play jacks, you have to have money to buy your jacks and your ball, and we always went to school and used somebody else's.
When do you remember being your happiest?
Well, I think when we had a little country church a mile and a half from us, and Sundays we'd go there, and we usually, Mama always took a real big dinner. She didn't go to church with us because she felt, we always said she wanted people to feel sorry for us, so she said stay home and fix dinner, but she'd stay home and fix dinner, and we'd invite someone home with us, and, we'd play games and various things, and that was fun time, because we always had all kinds of things to eat. We lived on a farm, and we had a big cellar. We always, we had a lot in the cellar as well. If we didn't produce, it wasn't in production tank there, we'd have it canned in the cellar, so we just had lots of food to eat, and we always raised chickens, and we'd, Mama could wring her neck, but I tried, and I'd wring, and then I threw it down, I had to get up, and we had to chase it again, then I had to use an axe, because I never did learn how to wring a chicken's neck. But my mother could, so I thought I could too, and I just had to learn to do that.
Did you have a childhood nickname, and if so, what was it?
Well, my nickname was Winker. Why they give me the name Winker, but we used to have, a lot in our family, but we had another fellow that stayed with us, and he named us all, and I'm not real sure why I got the nickname Winker, but that was my nickname when I was growing up. Well,
when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, when I was a child, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, but my sister got into being a nurse, and well, it was an awful lot of work and everything, and then I decided different, and so then I started in accounting, because I was real good at figures, and well, even when I was a sophomore in high school, they needed somebody at Midwest Creamery in Ponca City, Oklahoma, to work on the books, and my sister thought if I could get out of school, well, I could get the job, and I did. I had to take lesser grades. I had to do my schoolwork, but didn't get good grades on them. But I enjoyed any kind of bookkeeping.
If you could spend a day with a childhood friend, who would it be and why?
Well, if I could spend a day with a friend that I grew up with, she was in high school with me, and spent a lot of time in our home. But right now she has, her oxygen doesn't get to her, and she has to be on oxygen 24/7. And we used to double date and do various things together, and we played basketball, and we were real close that way, and we spent a lot of time in each other's home, and so we knew a lot about each other very much, and it would be fun. Well, I called her a couple weeks ago and visited with her, but she has a real hard time, being on oxygen. I have to carry everything with you at all times. It's a little bit of an effort, but she's still a fun person to be around, and I enjoy visiting with her.
Do you have a message that you'd like to share with everyone out there?
Well, most thing is to be kind to one another and help one another out. That's what we're for, is to help each other out. And the Lord set the example, and that's the example He gave us, helping one another. And that's what we all should do, is help one another whenever the time is necessary.